My name's Amy Pennington and I work for Lancashire Wildlife Trust. I'm the Community Engagement Officer for the Fylde Sand Dunes Project. The Fylde Sand Dunes Project initially began in 2008. It's funded by the Environment Agency as part of the Shoreline Management Plan for Flood Defence, and it's a partnership project between Lancashire Wildlife Trust, Fylde Council and Blackpool Council.
I'm Andy Mills and I'm an Area Conservation Ranger for Fylde Council. The funding that we get is predominantly towards the dunes acting as a sea defence. So during storm waters and high winds, the impact of the storm waters is significantly reduced by the sand dunes.
The aims of the project are to widen the sand dunes so that they're a more efficient way of acting as a soft sea defence, but also to enhance public appreciation and enjoyment of the dunes.
The whole team, from the partnership working with the Wildlife Trust and Fylde Council and Blackpool Council, it's just great. We couldn't get these things done without it.
So the dunes are a really rare habitat across the UK and we're quite lucky to have them on the Fylde coast.
We have over 280 vascular plant species, including Dune helleborine and Isle of Man cabbage, and that's partly the reason that some of the dunes have been designated as a triple SI, which is a Site of Special Scientific Interest.
Plants are amazing because basically most of them are growing out of sand. You know, plants don't grow in sand, they grow in soil. And these plants are thriving and help to stabilise the dunes.
On the nature reserve itself, we've got two hybrid species, a hybrid willow and a hybrid rush, and they're both endemic to this northwest region of England. In terms of butterflies and moths, we've got over 150 butterfly moth species, including gatekeeper and grayling, which are the main two that we tie in a survey. The dunes are also home to breeding birds such as stonechat, skylark, linnet and reed bunting. It's also frequented by kestrels, sparrowhawks and barn owls on the odd occasion.
There's so much to learn about how all this works and what an amazing place it is for wildlife and for recreation.
So in terms of practical conservation, one of our main issues is invasive species, so that's the sea buckthorn, white poplar and Japanese rose. So what we do with those is remove those species and stop the new growth.
I'm Hilary Salkeld. I work for the Sand Dunes Project. I remove invasive species like Japanese rose, white poplar and sea buckthorn so that the more natural plants can grow on the sand dunes, like orchids, Isle of Man cabbage.
The project started, we removed over 40% of non-native scrubland from the dunes. As the project started, we've dug 17 dune slacks on the nature reserve and elsewhere on the dunes. That's to promote biodiversity and give a home for amphibians such as frogs and toads.
There's a slightly different kind of habitat that we explore, which is called a dune slack, and it's much wetter. Which you wouldn't normally expect to find in amongst a dune. We find a wet area where there are all sorts of really special orchids and plants that are only to be found in very rare places.
One of our biggest issues are blowouts, which are areas of eroded dunes where it's bare sand, and this bare sand through high winds gets blown onto the roads and into the houses of St Anne's and Lytham. So we try and combat these blowouts by thatching these areas using the Christmas tree branches. One of the ways that we use to grow the dunes seaward is to use the chestnut paling. So the chestnut paling acts as a windbreak, slows the wind down, which then deposits the sand and then it builds up. So each year we tend to increase the amount of chestnut paling we put seaward, and therefore we gain a 10-metre strip of dunes. So in the Christmas of 2017 we got over 2,500 Christmas trees. So the following February we did a 3-day community event where we got over 250 volunteers coming down planting the Christmas trees, and this is where we talked to them about the education, about the dunes and about the project that we do.
I run a volunteer group every Thursday to do all the practical tasks involved with improving the sand dunes. It's run from 10 till 3, so people can turn up any time between those times. People have fun, they sort of socialise together, we work together, and it's a good activity to do.
Jim Charlton, volunteer, St Dunes Project. Been coming here since we moved here 3 years ago. It's all to do with the town and the community, and of course this is pretty special out here really as a habitat, and it needs looking after. It's good exercise really, better than going to a gym. Yeah, quite a lot of people appreciate what we do.
If you want to get involved with this volunteering, go to Lancashire Wildlife Trust website. Just say you want to register as a volunteer and they'll direct you to the Sand Dunes Project.
As part of the Fylde Sand Dunes Project, my aim is to increase community engagement and education on the Fylde Sand Dunes and the marine environment too. So we put on a lot of events. So we do family-friendly events where we do mud dipping, mini beast hunting in the sand dunes. We also do beach bonanzas, strandline searches. It's just all about getting people out there and learning what kind of environment this is. We also do practical conservation on the sand dunes that people can get involved in, so that might be Hillary's Thursday work parties, but we also get schools involved. So we bring the children out there and we can have them digging dune slacks or planting marram grass for us, and it's a really good way of engaging with the local community about our project. We also run beach school, so that's bringing children to the beach, and it's surprising how many children that we speak to that have never been to the beach before, and we can engage with them about all the fantastic marine animals that we have living here, all the wonderful creatures that you can find on the beach, and also about the project as well, because we truly believe that if we engage with them at that level, that when they grow up, they'll grow up with an affinity to the coastline and a need to want to protect it as well. As part of the community engagement and education of the Fylde Sand Dunes Project, we offer regular guided walks, and these tend to be every 3 or 4 weeks, and it's about getting people out onto the dunes, enjoying being outdoors, just being by the seaside, but also learning a little bit at the same time. So teaching them about the wildlife that exists here in this habitat, but also about the really important work that the Fylde Sand Dunes Project is doing to help sustain the local coastal towns from flooding.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a volunteer with the Lancashire Wildlife Trust, and I lead guided walks here on St Anne's, our local nature reserve. About 80% of the sand dunes have now disappeared, and that's one of the reasons we need to focus on preserving what's left. That 20% is so rich in natural things, and it's such an interesting feature between the towns of St Anne's and Blackpool that we really need to focus on looking after it for future generations.
project has been running for around 10 years now, and since then it's just gone from strength to strength. We want to thank the Environment Agency for funding us, but we also want to say a massive thanks to all our project partners and anyone who's ever helped us develop the project into what it is today.